Welcome to Vox Vomitus, also known as word vomit. Welcome to our very first episode of Vox Vomitus. My name is Jennifer Ann Gordon. I am your host, one of your three hosts. I am the author of the novel Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, which is a Gothic horror novel, which is available on Amazon. I want to very quickly introduce my two amazing co-hosts. We're kind of like the Hocus Pocus witches, except meaner. Let's go with
True.
Today.
Yes.
Yes. Meaner today, more hormonal. So welcome, Allison, Martine, and Trisha Mckee. I'm going to toss this over to Allison first. Say hello to our wide audience. Hi.
Hi, Dania. This is Allison here. I may not always answer to my name because it sounds like I'm getting in trouble because it's my first and middle. So it sounds like you're calling me to the carpet. Allison, Martine, you get over here right now. That's what I get for picking a pen name that's my actual name, but kind of not. I just get confused. I'm often confused.
My pen name's Jennifer Ann Gordon, and I wanted to do the Ann because it was like Anne of Green Gables, and now I just look at it and I think that is so many letters, and when I sign books, it's just like hieroglyphic. Trisha, let's toss this to you.
Hi, I'm Trisha, and like you said, my pen name is Trisha Rodinger Mckee because I wanted all the bullies in high school to know my maiden name. I have a book out there. But yes, signing books becomes an issue. I currently have my debut novel, Beyond the Surface, is available on Amazon. And I have a bunch of short stories out there in magazines.
And Allison, I forgot to let you tell me about your book.
Well, I'm a romance novelist by accident and I guess now choice. And my debut novel, Dibs, is on Amazon now. I always tell people, just look for this. It's the bourbon, and I'm just going to have some now, too.
I'm going to say, are we drinking?
We're drinking. The show's just started, and we are already drinking because that's the kind of day we've had.
I feel like every day since quarantine is that kind of day.
It is. It's always quarantine o'clock, which always means it's appropriate for whatever you want to do.
So viewers, listeners, I am very happy you've turned in to our crazy show, Vox Vomitus, which actually means word vomit in fake Latin. And
I thought it was French.
Vox is real, but I'm not sure if vomitus is actually Latin or if it sounds like a spell that Hermione would say in like Harry Potter, like, you have Vox Vomitus. So Trisha, Allison, and I have all had books published within the past 6 months. So we have been doing a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviews and a lot of promotion and talking about how good our books are. And our books are great.
So good.
So good. But as writers, and I know there's probably a lot of writers listening to this right now, it doesn't always go well. There are moments where you are, or I'm just going to speak for myself, vomiting all over my keyboard and hoping a book comes out of it. So the point of this podcast is not necessarily to always talk about how great the book is, but all of the things that went wrong in order to make it great. So today we are going to be talking a little bit about we're all in the middle of writing and or editing our second novel. Some of us have written more novels than that, but this will be collectively our second published novels. So I will start. My second book is called From Daylight to Madness, and it is a historical fiction / feminist Gothic horror novel. So you can imagine how many words that is coming out of my fingers every day. When people have to move really slow because they're on laudanum and there's so many clothing and their skirts are so heavy, everything just takes a lot longer to describe. So
Yes.
my book, my book has become now 2 books because it became a little bit of a monster. If I was publishing it all as one, it would be so far, like 110,000 words and not close to the end. And I thought I've got to contain this. So instead of harshly editing, I'm just saying now I'm writing 2 books.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at.
Well, and that whole word count thing, it gets really tricky. So I'm kind of, when you ask where I am now, I'm writing my 3rd book in this series that follows Dibs. It doesn't have a name yet, so it's just the 3rd book. And where I am as far as that goes, I'm about 33,000 words in, but I need to go back and edit the 2nd book since September so that it can come out in September, which I decided to launch in September. So I just remember, otherwise I would just get really confused. But having to decide, okay, well, when is the story done? How long is it supposed to be? What's the genre standard? That gets really kind of weird because the other book I have floating around is, I joke that I didn't mean to be a romance author because, as you 2 ladies know, and some of our audience may know, I still think of myself as the sci-fi writer because that's what I read and that's what I first wrote. And so my sci-fi novel, that's done and it's sitting with my agent, and she's got that on submission now. And that's 131,000 words. And a lot of people were telling me, oh, well, that's too long for your debut novel. But genre standards are longer. So there's sometimes a tension there. And then to know, okay, do I need to try to edit it based on what some people think? Or can I at least get it out there and maybe let somebody else make that decision? And if I've got to come take a whacker to it later, then maybe I will. But right now, my agent had me make some changes, but she didn't have me cut it. So
Yay.
Yay.
So that means it wasn't that much vomit, just
No,
regular words.
I mean, there was a lot. There was a lot, and she did have me tighten one little section, but out of the whole thing, I was expecting to be told you got to completely revamp this, that, or the other thing, but she liked it how it was. So let's just hope a publisher somewhere agrees with her and it finds a home. Trisha, what are you up to?
I am working on the sequel to Beyond the Surface, and it's Beyond the Dreams. I just started it.
Isn't that cute? I like it.
I love it.
Thank you. I hadn't planned on doing a sequel, but then I got feedback, and they're like, well, what happens? What happens? And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm kind of wondering that too. So I thought, okay. But it's funny because, Allison, you're a sci-fi writer, and you turned to romance to, I'm opposite. I was always a romance writer. And with some short stories, I thought, I'm going to try the sci-fi thing. It seems fun. I like the shows. I like the movies. I'm trying. So, yeah, it's kind of funny how you branch out at times to. But, yeah, it's slow going. I don't expect it to be. I'm only at 20,000 words, I think. So it's slow going. But I have the next 2 weeks off, so who knows?
Vacation writing spree.
Yeah. I felt like, so when I wrote Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, it was pre-COVID. I was still working full time, and I had this like really rigorous writing schedule. So I held myself to task every day. I got in front of the computer. I was able to write. Now, maybe it's because I'm promoting a book and writing a new one, writing 2 new ones. It seems it's harder to focus. And I think when I'm less focused, that's when sometimes I'll just write like 2 or 3 pages and I'm like, nothing happened. What? Like I literally am just like click-clacking just to click-clack. And then I reread it and nobody needs 3 pages of a woman drinking tea 9 times in a book. So now I'm just like Xing that out. Like, we don't need it. We don't need it.
You know what? I wish more authors would take that, because I think I've read those books, and if you set the mood, that's great. But I've read enough scenes where you go, okay, that was beautifully described, but nothing happened. There was no character interaction. There was nothing that moved the plot forward. And I'm not someone who...
And not even like internal dialogue.
No, that's exactly it. Because I know some people will mistake the whole idea of nothing happening to nobody died or nothing blew up. As a romance writer, I don't have anybody die or blow up as a rule. So it's like...
I don't even understand characters.
That wasn't what I was supposed to do. But yeah, there's a huge difference between...
As a writing prompt, you should do an explosion scene.
Okay. Everyone's dead.
Just a fun.
Yes.
Just to see what happens. You know, it might stay in. So what is the worst thing that you guys have written? It doesn't have to be published. Recently? It could be something...
Ever?
No, it doesn't even have to be. It could be ever. Like I used to write in high school, of course, because I'm pale and gothy, a lot of rhyming poetry. Like,
do you have
multiple?
I want to write some rhymes.
Oh, it's so bad. Like really terrible things about like the boys that didn't like me, of course. About like if I had one wish, it would be to feel his lips on mine. Blah blah blah. It would stop time. Basic, total basic bitch. Like
I'm done.
Crying and writing in my notebooks while in German class.
Wow, German! What a beautiful language there. German poetry.
Nothing says poetry. So yeah, I think the worst things I've ever written are a lot of poetry, and I love poetry, as you both know because you've read my book. It's poetic, but yes. There are no rhymes. No rhymes.
Sometimes I like rhymes.
I like rhymes when they're like coming at like when it's Eminem.
That should be a prompt. Do a scene with the rhyming.
No.
Oh gosh.
I don't know.
So if Allison's prompt is an explosion.
Probably. I'm sure some of the bad stuff I wrote in high school exists somewhere, but I've always been someone who every time life has changed or more literally gotten like the rug just ripped out from underneath me, I purge. So I'm sad because I see people with like the box of their notes from high school, and I had boxes of all those and they're all gone. And I'm sure all my old journals with all my terrible writing is all gone. But I do have a book I wrote in second grade that is about as nonsensical as possible. That just comes from me like watching too much of The Dark Crystal and all that. Most of it is it's fantasy and it's complete just crazy, but there are pictures. So, I mean, it's kind of fun. Oh. So I have that. It's a bound book.
Did you draw the pictures?
I drew the pictures, and I was not an artist then, and I am not an artist now. Like round purple things with red features. And yeah, again, I blame the Muppets. I blame Jim Henson.
Blame the Muppets.
Yeah.
You always have to go back to blaming Fraggle Rock. Mm-hmm. Always blame Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, yes. Fraggle right here. I
think we've had this conversation.
Everything.
We have.
I'm Mckee Fraggle. I'm the one with the bad, like, bad sweater. Who's just like a little sad with like crinkly hair.
Was there a mean Fraggle? Because I want to claim that one.
There's no mean. Well, you know what? There was older ones who were kind of maybe spoil sports, but there was nobody really mean. The Fraggles were very.
Trisha's like, I want to be that one.
Go around eating people's user buildings and not really giving.
Oh God! I always felt so bad for them. They would just like build those little structures all day, every day. You know,
I feel like that. I feel like a doozer today. Is it a doozer? Is that what they're called?
Yep, they're doozers.
Yes, I feel like one today.
Oh.
She worked her ears.
I kind of feel like a Fraggle because I ate a whole bag of chips, but it's just me. So Trisha, what's the worst thing you've ever written that you're willing to talk about?
Cop to on live.
Cop to on live internet streams.
Oh yay! When I was 14, it was just a turbulent year. A lot happened, a lot. And I wrote like 3 or 4 manuscripts. And the one I wrote a sequel to when I was like 19, because it just stuck with me. And recently I got out the original one and I read it and I'm just like, oh, what? What was I thinking? But I like the storyline. So I've been, that's one of the ones I've been rewriting.
Oh, awesome.
I love that.
Yes. It's like, okay, there's bare bones in here. Forget the other stuff. Forget the, because I was not a show, don't tell. I was a tell. I'm going to explain it to you because I don't think you're as smart as me. This is what's happening. I was horrible with that. So when I was 14.
You're 14 and you're I love that you say you're like, I wrote manuscripts at 14. At 14, I'm like, I wrote rhyming poetry about boys who didn't like me. And you wrote manuscripts.
Manuscripts about boys that didn't like me. So,
Lesson to boys.
I wrote
you will end up in a manuscript with the girl that you rejected. Just face it now. Just
yes,
really
thank
true.
you for all the inspiration back then. I could write 4 manuscripts. Thanks, guys.
I wrote a legal drama when I was
excuse me, go on.
I think I was 12 or 13.
Oh.
And I made my mother act it out with me because there was so much of it that it was a novel, but there was also aspects that were like a screenplay. And my parents were not lawyers. And I, as a 12, 13-year-old, was not a lawyer. But it was a murder mystery. And I didn't understand the law. But I played my character that I wrote about a lot was a lawyer. And most of it was just me asking lots of questions, lots of leading questions. And I think I was fighting both sides of the battle. Like, I don't know if I was a defense attorney, if I was the prosecutor. I don't know if I was the judge, but I think anything I had like gleamed from like watching Perry Mason or bad Nickelodeon Nick at Night shows, it somehow ended up in this legal drama that I wrote. And I had a lovely teacher in 7th grade, and she would let me write all the time for extra credit. And when she read that, she said, "This doesn't make sense." And everything else I had written, she was like, good job. But that, I think, is when she said, "I don't know what any of this means."
Look, I recently beta read for someone who I think had about the same level of understanding of our legal system as you did at 12 or 13. But she was a grown up, and I didn't want to have to pull out any kind of verification of credentials to say, yeah, you probably shouldn't mention specifics here when you're going to be completely wrong about all of them. And all your readers will probably know that that's not how any of this works. That's not how any of this works. That was me reading the entire thing. So,
well, I think now
we can forgive you.
Yeah. And I think now everybody thinks they know about the law because Law and Order has been on for like 8,000 years right now. And so
it taught me a lot.
Yeah, it taught me everything I need to know about.
Yeah. I'm ready. Take me in the courtroom. I got this.
You could defend yourself in a trial. I am acting as my own attorney. I feel like that's what my character may have done. Like, probably. I don't even know. Everybody. And then I did try to write. I was writing things about, and again, no clue. The police academy and people getting trained to be police. I made all of that up. Probably. Yeah, it was a lot of just like, I went to gun practice and then had to run a mile. Gun practice? Gun practice. I think I just got all the levels on my microphone. Yeah. This is why now I just write like Gothic horror, because I know my limitations.
I have to go to ghost practice too.
I have to go. My life is ghost practice. Oh no! Look, we're killing Trisha. If we kill Trisha, I'm gonna have to act as my own lawyer. She's weeping.
Practice. Oh my goodness. I did that. Now listen, I did that. I wrote about like the police and everything when I was young, and it's like I'm thinking back and I'm like flashbacks of, oh my goodness, I hope I never shoot anyone. I never saw that.
Well, I just hope that the friends that I shared what I was writing with in high school now, they don't remember any of that, and hope that they are not comparing what I'm publishing now to back then. And hopefully I've improved in the lots and lots of years since then, but still, it's just like, let's just push that away. Sorry.
So I'm really loving the fact, Trisha, that you're like revamping a story that had good bones and bad meat to it, I guess.
Bad meat.
Mad meat.
Yeah.
That's word vomit coming out of my mouth.
It was my first tattoo when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
It stuck with me. And we went, and my boyfriend at the time said he was going to get a tattoo. And I'm like, okay. So he's looking around, and I said, maybe I'll get one. And he started laughing. So I looked, and it was a sword. And I said, can you make that a pen? And can you make roses wrapped around it and have it say the title of the book? And so I got it. And a week later, we were fighting. And he looked at my mom, and he said, ask your daughter what she had done. So I did tell her. And it covers half my back.
Oh my
Half
gosh.
your back?
Yeah.
How old were you?
How long is the title to this book?
It's like one side and then half up. It was a very long pen.
So you have a tattoo of a book that you never really finished writing and made. So you have to publish that now.
Well,
You're
that,
gonna
and
have to
I have
rewrite it.
this one, and it's never been published.
Well, I think now we have your next after book 2. Beyond the Dream. That's what.
Yes, Beyond the Dream.
Okay. After Beyond the Dream, you already know your next 2 projects because they're tattooed on your body. It's like memento.
Well, I've been working on the back one, the back tattoo. That's been in the works for the past, I'd say, 2 years. I got sidetracked with the short stories and getting published and everything,
and getting paid for all the short stories as they just throw money at you.
You know, that's been kind of nice. That's been kind of nice. That's how you know there are good publishers out there. They're giving me the money.
Giving you the money. I love Allison. You still have so much bourbon left in your glass.
Come on.
Because the ice melted, and I want to be seated upright through the whole podcast. If I finish this too quickly, I'll just lay down on the fireplace.
Is that like mandatory? Do we have to stay upright? Like this?
I'll fall out of the frame if Yeah, I'm just sitting on the ground here in front of the fireplace, and I will fall over eventually.
So if Allison falls over, audience, don't be alarmed.
It's fine, everyone. It's fine.
It's
Mind
fine.
your business.
Fine. We've all fallen down. Mind your own business.
It's fine. I'm fine. Totally fine.
So we've got about 5 minutes left. We've covered, I think, a lot of really good territory today. But for people to know us and know our hearts, what is your favorite bad book that you've read? We all have. I know, isn't that a good one? I have books that I'm like, it was bad. But then there are books that I've read that are quote unquote bad, but I just love
eat them up. Yeah.
Mine's Valley of the Dolls. Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, that's a good one. I wish I would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
haha. I think that's my favorite. Like, it's like when you're reading it, you know it's bad for you. It's like when you just eat a bag of Doritos, you know it's bad. Bad for you. but
I can't say
good
that
for
it's
you.
bad that I was. I mean, there were things that I hated reading, but then I wouldn't say they were my favorite. They're the ones that I used to be the kind of person who, when I started reading a book, I wouldn't stop, even if I would be complaining the entire time. And it took me way too long to get to the point where I said, if I'm not invested in this and I really don't care, I need to stop reading because I just don't have the time to push through 400 pages of garbage. So I have
Which one do you like?
They're not favorites, but as far as ones where I will repeat, one of my mom's favorite phrases was Anne Rice wears dirty underwear. That was her saying, was Anne Rice wears dirty underwear. I love Anne Rice.
Your mother would. I love Anne Rice.
Oh, I did too. But I think my mother was not a fan of her teenage daughter reading any of that because she thought it would give me bad ideas and all sorts of stuff, or turn me into a vampire, or I don't really know. But
we could be so lucky.
I know, seriously.
I know, that would be awesome.
She'd probably just be happy that when I finally published, I didn't use my original pen name idea because I was like, I'm going to publish under Allison's in Lion Court. And I'll be like, stop. No, I would not. But I do like the name.
I feel like Anne Rice. I love Anne Rice, but she only leads to people having sex in cemeteries, though, and just like enjoying books. Yeah, or the Alpha Flower. You could also say, like, what's your a book that you've read that was terrible, but from an author you loved.
But from an author I loved.
Like, so okay. I'd say the Tommy Knockers, I mentioned it last night, was terrible, but I love Stephen King.
Well, and I love
throw myself into the book for him.
I like the book.
You like the book? You like Tommy Knockers?
I did, but I don't know if it's because it was Stephen King. I don't know. Well, I was young too. I haven't read it in recent years, but I remember just like devouring it. But I think it's because it was Stephen King.
Yeah, and some stuff doesn't.
I think we should all reread it.
Well, that's
I like that idea.
No, I was going to say I love Dan Simmons, even though some of the stuff he's written about new writers has been so insulting and demoralizing that I shouldn't like his stuff. But I love his Hyperion Cantos. But I suffered through his book, and I do mean suffered, The Abominable, which even on Audible was kind of painful to listen to. But when I was done, I felt like I could actually do my own solo mountaineering trek with all the right equipment because he spent so much time describing every single pice of equipment and everything that I think I had hours of just listening to equipment.
You could do that now.
And I'd rather just go into REI and look around and actually touch the stuff than listen to that. But I love Dan Simmons, and most of his stuff has been amazing. But that particular book, the title, very misleading. I thought I was going to get a lot of Yeti. There were not as many Yeti as I was hoping for.
Aw.
Were there any Yeti?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's left kind of ambiguous, but the title does not actually refer to what you think it refers to. Yeah.
Well, now I'm not intrigued.
I don't know. It is what it is.
All right, Trisha, favorite bad book or bad book from your favorite author?
V.C. Andrews.
Oh, yeah, I should have said V.C. Andrews.
Right. Now I
can't believe I said Valley of the Dolls and you said V.C. Andrews.
Everybody in the night.
Yes,
that was like a Freaky Friday thing.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it is. But I mean, there are some books that are very like Ellen Hilderbrand. I love her books. They're very summery, easy read, but they're not bad.
Yeah. No, and there's nothing wrong with the cotton candy books that are just light and fluffy. And there are times when I've gone to the library and I've gone, I need something like a palate cleanser after something heavier and dark.
Yes.
It's fun and easy. And what's worse is when you pick a book that should be that, and then you're like, it isn't even. Like the cotton candy is actually crunchy and kind of rotten, and no one wants that.
Where are you getting your cotton candy?
A bad carny is what I'm
gas station.
I know them.
I don't know. Disneyland shut down. No one's got cotton candy. It's all sad.
Okay, ladies. I love you both once again. I'm Jennifer Gordon. My book is Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent. Please buy that on Amazon. We have Allison Martine here. Her book is Dibs, also on Amazon. And Trisha Mckee, Beyond the Surface. Again, Amazon. And next week, we are going to be interviewing, fan it out.
My hands are
We're going to be interviewing
Our books are big.
Lily Lucchesi, who is a USA Today bestselling author. She is also an editor, and she does book promotions and PR. So Lily is great. She's a friend of mine, and she kind of runs the gambit of editing, writing. She's very prolific, and she knows PR about books. So I'm assuming she's going to have a lot to talk to us about the good, the bad, the ugly, the word vomit. So thank you all. Again, this is Vox Vomitus. We are a copywritten podcast, part of the Authors on the Air Global Network. Thank you all, and tune in next Wednesday at 6 p.m.